Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Foreman Files Media. We are going to be ranking, or on a tier list, NBA shooting guards. We have All NBA, All Star, Borderline All Star, Good Starter, Average to Below Average Starter, and Bench Player. They don't have the rookies from this year, which is fine. I'm not that mad at it. And I guess we're going to start with Dinwiddie, who was on the point guard tier list. I'll put him in Good Starter, but he's definitely the starting point guard for the Nets. I already talked about him, so I'll go back to the point guard video if you want to hear more about him. Zach LaVine, though, I'll throw in All-Star. He was not an All-Star this year, but 2 of the last 3 seasons he was. He's still in his prime. He's still 28 years old, Still has a good amount of years left before he leaves his prime. In his prime, he's averaged 24, 26, 28, 24, and 25 points per game, which that in itself grants him an all-star, at least in this tier. He hasn't missed too many games the last couple seasons. Last year, he only missed 5 games. Year before that, it was 15. Before that, it was less. But for the most part, he doesn't miss too many games, which is good for Zach LaVine, especially since there was that one season in 2017 where season was it when he had his bad injury. I don't remember if that might have been when he was with the Timberwolves, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, Zach LaVine is he's a talented player. He's definitely an all-star level player. Definitely not an all-NBA. I don't think he has one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but LaVine's a talented player, and excited to see if the Bulls can actually make a real push next season. I'm going to throw both the Mathurin and Ivy into average to below average starter. They're both inefficient last season, but that's what you expect from rookie guards. Hopefully they come into next season, avoid the sophomore slump, and continue improving. Hopefully they get to average above 20 points per game. I could probably be seeing that more from Mathurin than Ivy, considering the new additions and that Cade will be healthy. Bogdanovich is going to stay on the team. Story Thompson still improving, and Mathurin, if he ends up coming off the bench again, we'll see. But the young core that the Pacers have is definitely good. Both teams, both the Pacers and the Pistons. But Pacers with Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker. Miles Turner is not the youngest anymore, but he's still entering or maybe a little before his prime. So I'll put them both in average to below average starter. Next we have Anthony Edwards. I'll throw him in all-star for right now. Anthony Edwards, I hate to say it, but I feel like it might be true. Some people overrate Anthony Edwards. They're acting like that he is an all-NBA superstar type player. He can get to that. Last season he averaged 24 points per game. 6 and 4, so he filled up the rest of the stat sheet, but they're acting like he was averaging 30. Like he's carrying the Wolves team. I would say that he's the best on the Timberwolves, but I would not go to say that he is a superstar All-NBA type player yet. He could be next year, but as of right now, he's an all-star player, I believe. Next, we have Fournier. We'll throw on the bench. That's pretty easy. Josh Giddey, though, I'll throw in good starter above of Dinwiddie. Not a borderline all-star yet. He's not an amazing scorer. He needs to work on his three-point shot, but that Oklahoma City team's young. They're going to keep improving. And I'd like to see him hopefully get up to a top 6 seed next season with Holmgren coming back, with obviously Giddey, Shea, Jalen Williams all improving. And it's going to be interesting to see how that team is able to perform with Holmgren back or starting his rookie season. Next, we have Herb Jones. I'll throw in good starter. I don't have to look at his stats. I know he does not score a lot, probably under 10 points per game, but he makes his mark on the defensive side of the ball. Lock up your best player. He's working on the shot. It's not fully there yet, but once he can be a good 3-and-D type player, he's already a great defender, but him improving his three-point shot and more helps him build more value into the NBA, or more valuable as a player. Next, we have Anthony Simons. For Simons, he's probably hovering around this area. I might put him in good starter as of right now. Simons is he's basically just a bucket. He averaged 21 last season on good efficiency. I'll throw him in good starter because I don't think anyone considers him a borderline all star right now. Maybe in a really bad year he's an all star, but right now I'll put him in good starter. He's probably either the best or the second best behind Josh Giddey. Next we have Kevon Herter. I'll throw him in average to below average starter. He's more of an average starter. Him and the him in that Warriors series was kind of horrible. I know he had a great season, so maybe I'll bump him up. I probably will now that I'm thinking about it. But that Warriors series was terrible. I mean, I don't even remember him making 1-3 that series. So obviously, he probably made one, but that was it was a great series to watch. But Herter struggled a lot. Um, you know, in the beginning of the season, Murray struggled, and then he started coming alive. Herter struggled the whole series. So I'll probably put him in good starter for right now. I might want to make a tier um that separates this, but right now I'll put him in good starter because I don't think he's one tier away from borderline all star. You know what I might do is this. I might do a below average starter, and then I'll just keep this to average starter. If I could type it out. So I'll move him down to average starter because he's not a below average starter. Yeah, I feel like that's good. Next we have Gary Trent. I'll probably move him to average starter as well. He returns to the Raptors, I believe, on his player option. He's a good scorer. He's not the most efficient, but he's still a good player. I'm thinking if I want to move him to good starter or not. But I'm gonna keep him here for right now. Also, Dinwiddie, I'm not sure. I'm not even gonna rate Dinwiddie because we did him on the video we did last. Next, we have Levert. I feel like he's the definition of an average starter. He can come off the bench. He could bring a good boost to you off the bench, but when it comes to starting, he's pretty much an average starter. Seth Curry, though, I think is going to be our first below average starter. They also rated. I'm going to get rid of all the guys we've already rated. Terry Rozier is one of them. Maxi we already rated. I think these guys are all players we have not rated as of yet. It is. Seth Curry, his percentages, I believe, dipped a little bit last year. He's still shooting over 40% from three. Maybe his percentages didn't dip. I mean, they dipped, but he didn't play as much as he did in previous seasons when Brooklyn was actually trying to contend with Kyrie and KD. But I think Seth Curry is going to bring a lot to. Who did he sign with? Did he sign with the Mavericks? I believe he signed with the Mavericks. Am I correct? Okay. Yeah, he signed with the Mavericks. I think he's gonna. When he last played for the Mavericks, he was good. He was efficient. He was viewed as one of the top shooters in the league. I think he'll bring the same energy to the Mavericks this time around, with the extra spacing with Kyrie and Luka Doncic. He already played with Luka Doncic, but with Kyrie, his playmaking ability should give him more looks as well. Bradley Beal's another player I'm going to throw into the All-Star tier. He averaged 30 points per game 2 of his last 4 seasons. So saying that Bradley Beal hate is not warranted here. You're not going to say that he's in this good starter tier. I don't think he deserves. You could say he's borderline All-Star because he hasn't been All-Star the last 2 of his seasons. But when you average 2 of the last 4 seasons, when you average 30 points per game, you don't deserve the disrespect that you're currently getting. Because Bradley Beal is way underrated or too much disrespected. Jaylen Brown, I'll also put in this All-Star tier. Yeah, he got the biggest contract in NBA history overall. I know Anthony Davis went up to him on an annual salary, but overall, Jaylen Brown has that. Let's see if he can play up to it. He obviously is memed with not having a left hand, but he's still a great player. He didn't have an amazing playoffs last season, but it felt like in the finals 2 seasons ago against the Warriors, he was the best player on that Celtics team. I just want him, if he's a confident player, then he's going to be a great player for the Celtics. And I don't think he'll end up playing like a 60, what was it, a $62 million man, but we'll see. I think the end of that contract was around $70 million, which is crazy. But I like to see Jaylen Brown's improvement. When he first came into the league, he did not have as deep as a bag as he does now. He was more of a defense, catch and shoot three type of guy, who could maybe give you a little bit off the dribble. I mean, he was still good at slashing, but now he has the mid range jump shot. He's a better playmaker, not the best ball handler, but we know what Jaylen Brown brings to the table. Next, we have KCP. I feel like he's another guy we could just throw into average starters. Most of these guys are just good role players, like Kevon Huerter, KCP. Those are your catch and shoot guys. But overall, all deserve me an average starter. Now, before I rank Klay Thompson, I realized I took away the basketball reference. I want to look at his statistics real quick and possibly when his last All-Star was. His last All-Star wasn't since 2019. I think that he could be an All-Star this year, though. With the extra playmaking, I'll put him in the borderline All-Star, but with the extra playmaking with Chris Paul, could he see more touches in terms of catch and shoot abilities? We know that's what Klay Thompson brings to the table. I think Klay Thompson could be an All-Star again. Doesn't seem like he's regressed too much since his prime back in from 2016 to 2020 before he injured his knee. His percentages have gone down a little bit, but we still know that Klay Thompson, he's getting that defense ramped back up. He's still as good as a shooter. We know that. Not as aggressive now as he used to be, but we can respect Klay by putting him in borderline All-Star. He's an amazing player. He's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer at this point in his career. I mean, he's 4-time champion. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's first ballot. I put him as first ballot, but you never really know. Next, we have Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker. I would put them both in the All-NBA tier. I know Jaylen Brown was All-NBA third team last season, I believe, but I feel like there's the Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker tier. Then there's the Levine, Anthony Edwards, Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown. Paul George is an interesting one, but it's them, maybe Paul George, and then the rest of the guys in the All-Star tier. I think these are the two best shooting guards in the league pretty easily. Paul George is hard because, injuries. I mean, he's a 6'9" combo guard, so he's very interesting and a unique player to have. I think I'll just rank him next. I mean, I'll throw Jalen Suggs in this bench tier. I don't have a lot to talk about him, but should I throw Paul George in the All-NBA? When was the last time Paul George has made an All-NBA team? As of, let's see. And he's a 6-time All-NBA player. I think he still has the ability to be an All-NBA player. I'll put him in All-NBA. He's an amazing defender. Like I said before, he's a 6'9" combo guard, which means he's impossible to guard. And that's probably the last All-NBA player we have on this list, if I'm seeing things correctly. Next, we have Devin Vassell. I'll throw him in good starter. I mean, he's a great defender. He's efficient for the most part. You could argue that, if you want to say Gary Trent should be in good starter, you could say that. If you want to say Huerter should be in good starter, you could say that. I just didn't like what I saw from Huerter in the playoffs. And if we're talking about going into next season where I believe they can end up, I'm saying that Huerter's in the average starter. I'm saying that Gary Trent's also an average starter if the Rockets, or not the Rockets, or the Raptors with their new head coach decide to, that their head coach is more of a ball movement type of system. When the Raptors last season was a lot of isolations with Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and even Gary Trent at times, who could still serve as a good catch and shoot player. We'll see how he fares. I might move him up just because I'm going to guess their stats are very similar. But right now, I'll keep Gary Trent slightly lower. Next, you have Jordan Poole. I'll throw him in good starter. Could he be an All-Star next season? Yes. Would I bet on it? Probably not, just because of, if you just want to look up here, all the Eastern, actually not anymore now that Bradley Beal has left the left the Eastern Conference. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's a Cav who's going to be a guard. If I remember my list from yesterday, you probably have Steph's in the West, Luka's in the West, Shay's in the West, Dame's in the West too. He might move to the Heat, but actually there could possibly be an opening spot for Jordan Poole. With the opportunity he has, well, with the opportunity he has going into next season with the Wizards, possibly being that number one, maybe number two option, there's definitely a way he could see himself sneaking into the All-Star votes. Obviously, he's a pretty popular player. Is he better than guys like Giddey, Simons, Herb Jones, and Vassell? I mean, I think you can make a case that Jones, Simons, and Giddey are all better than Jordan Poole right now, but none of them have the opportunity that Jordan Poole has going into next season. So, even though his talent is probably around here, his opportunities around here. Next is Jalen Green. It's the same thing if we're projecting to next season. I'm going to project that Jalen Green makes a good jump into being a good starter. The Rockets try to find a way to get into the play-in, maybe even a top 6 seed with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. But there's definitely a chance that Jalen Green could be seen in the borderline all-star good starter tier. Pat Bev is another guy we'll just throw into bench player. Desmond Bane is a guy I'm going to put into borderline all-star, and it's similar to what I said about Jordan Poole. He has his opportunities. I mean, John Morant's going to be out for the first 25 games of the season, so if we see Desmond Bane put up similar stats to what he did in the beginning of last season, where he averaged around mid-20s with great shooting, we could see Desmond Bane as an all-star this season, and that one I'm a little less confident on because the West guards are more talented, or there are more of them that are in all-star contention than there are in the East. So, but with his 25 games that jar out, Desmond Bane has a real chance to shine. Sexton, I'll throw an average starter. He's a point guard. He's not a shooting guard. He's a point guard. He's 6'1", who only averages like 2 to 3 assists. So I mean, we'll see. He's a downhill player. We know that he's one of the fastest in the league. His 3-point shot is not terrible. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's definitely there. He has a good mid-range. Just the playmaking is not what you want it to be for a 6'1" guard. Next, we have Tyler Hero. Do I think Tyler Hero could be a borderline all-star? I'm going to say yes. Tyler Hero's hard. I mean, looking at his stats from the previous season, Tyler Hero averaged 20. I mean, I don't think he had as good as a season as he did before, where he averaged a little bit more, but I believe he was more efficient as well. Tyler Hero's hard, and just because the Heat, Bam and Jimmy, it's not like they both score over 25 points per game, but the way the Heat offense is ran doesn't feel like that Tyler Hero is a guy that's going to be just come in and average 24 points per game because, I mean, he's an elite scorer. Not an elite scorer. He's a good scorer. He's as good as a scorer as Clay, Poole, and Desmond Bane are. Probably better than Desmond Bane and Clay in terms of talent scoring the ball, how they have, a deeper bag. But again, opportunity system, it's going to land him in good starter because I don't see him as a borderline all-star going into next season. Grayson Allen is someone I could probably put him below average starter. I'm probably going to do the same with Jalen Suggs. I don't want to disrespect him that much. And, these last 4 guys are guys I've already rated. So this shooting guard list was hard. If I just want to look at one more overview, the bench players I'm confident in. Below average starters, I mean, you could probably make a case that Jalen Suggs could be a bench player, but he still has a lot of potential. He didn't play terrible last season, but Fournier and Patrick Beverley don't get any minutes, and they're both not starters, so that's why I put them in the bench tier automatically. But you could argue Suggs is here. I'm not really sure. Grayson Allen, I mean, he fits the tier perfectly. Average starters are probably more of the inefficient / role players. Guys like that, I mean, Matherin and Ivy, not inefficient, but not the greatest efficiency in their rookie seasons. Kevon Herter scared me in the playoffs, how he wasn't able to hit a shot at all. And then Karis LeVert and KCP are role players, as well as Herter is also. Gary Trent, you can make a good case that he's right here. You can make a great case that he's right here, considering all these guys are, and you want to say that he's on the same level, you could say that. And Colin Sexton is a point guard who does not have the ability to pass the ball, which is weird that he's in the shooting guard list when he's 6'1", and I'm almost 100% sure he played point guard last season. Unless you're saying Jordan Clarkson did. I didn't see him on that other list, but unless you're saying that Clarkson did, yeah, you could say Sexton's a shooting guard, but I don't think that was the case. Good starters, I'm pretty confident where I have the good starters. All of these guys, with the probably exception of Herb Jones, are great, talented scorers, and Josh Giddey, but he's a great offensive player. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these guys, besides Herb Jones, are talented offensive players who can get it done scoring as well as passing. Herb Jones, we know, makes his mark on his defensive side. Borderline All-Stars, I think Clay can make it next season. Poole with his opportunity can make it next season, as well as Desmond Bane with his opportunity. All-Star guys, Levine and Bradley Beal, you can make a case that are borderline All-Stars, but their talent definitely has them in the All-Star category. Anthony Edwards, I mentioned that he was probably a little overrated by the media, saying that he was a superstar or All-NBA type player when he has not been that yet. I mean, I don't think he was an All-NBA player last season, if I'm wrong. No, he was just an All-Star. Don't overrate Anthony Edwards. He's still young. He's still going to play a lot better. But I don't think put him in the tier for Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and a proven guy like Paul George yet. So thank you for watching the shooting guard video. And yeah, be on the lookout for the small forward video in the upcoming days. Peace.